Welcome, my sports betting friends. This is Professor MJ, a 15-year university statistics teacher. I'm going to provide you some betting picks in Major League Baseball for today, Wednesday, August 23rd. Well, more specifically, I'm going to discuss 4 different baseball games. And in those games, I'll have 2 official picks for you and 2 leans. And when I talk about leans, I mean that they are not necessarily good enough to bet, or maybe I'm going to place a smaller bet than usual. But those types of wagers are like borderline acceptable. And at the end, I've got a bonus gift for you. I'm going to give you a WNBA pick. We have been red hot in that league, as you are about to find out. I wish I would have had time to make some WNBA videos. Those picks were shared at mjpicks.com for the paid members, and I wish I had more time to give away a few free WNBA picks once in a while. All right, so let's get started with the first pick for today, which concerns the Minnesota Twins playing at the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, it seems to me like the Twins are looking like a different team, whether they are on the road or at home. The Twins have a 29-35 record on the road, which is not that good, while at home, they have a 36-26 record. Now, these teams seem to be heading in opposite direction. Well, Minnesota, since July 25, has an 11-13 record, which is quite disappointing. While the Brewers, they have been quite solid since August 9. They have an 8-3 record, but all 3 of those losses occurred at Dodger Stadium against a very tough Dodgers team, obviously. Now, for the Brewers, Corbin Burnes will start. It seems to me like this is probably the pitcher that I have backed the most often during the 2023 season. He tossed a gem in his last outing. He allowed just 2 hits in 7 innings at Dodger Stadium. Unfortunately for him, he had to settle for a no decision because his team lost 1-0. Lance Lynn was quite good for the Dodgers as well. Now, if you take a look at Burnes' past 9 starts, he has a 4-1 record along with a 2.34 ERA. Now, to me, that seems like a good bet. So I'm going to take officially, this is an official pick, I'm taking the Milwaukee Brewers as slight favorites at home against the Twins. I also want to mention to you, let me share my screen. Now, this pick is supported by a betting system called the Hot Bats number 2. This one works as follows. If the home team won its past 4 games by scoring a minimum of 5 runs in each of those games, and that is the case of Milwaukee, if you look here, so they did win their past 4 games by scoring at least 5 runs in all of them. And when I developed this system several years ago, that was a money-making system, obviously. Otherwise, I would not be presenting it to you right now. But this year, it has been quite bad. It has a 3-18 record. You can see all the bets. I'm not sure if this is big enough for you to see it. Let me zoom a little bit. Well, maybe that was too much. With 150%. So you can see in this column whether the pick was a winner or not. Well, in fact, it won its first 2 bets. And and now this is Hot Bats number 1. Okay, there it is. Okay, Hot Bats number 2. We have a lot of zeros in this column, which indicate losses. We have just 3 wins in 21 bets. And during the past few years, it has also done quite badly. So that's one of the reasons why I want to take the Brewers. This bad system is suggesting to take the Twins. So I'm going to fade the system and take the Brewers. Well, my own analysis actually likes this bet, as I told you about earlier. I also want to say a few words about Minnesota's starter, which is Kenta Maeda. He's enjoying a pretty solid season. He had allowed either 1 or 2 runs in 5 straight starts, which is great. But in his last outing, he showed some signs of weaknesses. He posted some mediocre numbers at home against the lowly Detroit Tigers. In 4 innings, he allowed 7 hits and 3 runs. So I feel like he could be on the brink of having a more difficult stretch, and that's one more reason why I'm taking the Brewers, as Corbin Burnes is a great pitcher. He is regaining some good form. So pick number 1, Milwaukee Brewers against the Twins. All right, up next, the next pick is backed by a betting system called the Big Upset number 1. Let's read the rules together, and then we're going to verify that it applies to my second pick for today. In fact, as you are about to find out, this system recommends betting 2 different teams today, but one of them will be an official pick and the other is just a lean. So it says fade any team that won its previous game at odds greater than plus 150. So that's my definition of a big upset. Well, I chose this threshold after looking at data on 7 full seasons. They must be facing the same opponent today, and their money line today must be smaller than plus 125. So according to historical data, this is not a good strategy if you are betting moderate or big underdog. So that's why we are restricting ourselves to teams whose money line is plus 125 or smaller. So they could either be favorites or small dogs. All right, now let me share my screen. Yesterday, right here, the Miami Marlins won the game with a money line which was above plus 150. This is covers.com, which is a website I like quite a bit that's dedicated to sports bettors. You can click here on line movement and you'll see that the odds from different bookies. One of the most reliable sports books is Pinnacle. And as you can see, the closing line was plus 155. And you can see the money line throughout the day. It remained above plus 150 the entire day. So to me, that is viewed as a big upset. The second criterion was they must be facing the same team. Well, last night they played the Padres. They're playing the Padres again. So that's good. And their money line today must be smaller than plus 125. Well, earlier today when I shared this pick to my mjpicks.com members, the line on the Marlins was plus 108, which is indeed smaller than plus 125. So for this reason, my second official pick for today goes to the Miami Marlins. Well, in fact, I have more arguments to share with you that supports this play, because as you know, if you have been following me for a while, I don't follow my betting systems blindly. Otherwise, I would be making like 5 or 6 picks every day, which is too much. Now, a few words about the big upset number 1 system. It posted some gains in 3 straight years. So in 2022, 2021, 2020. So that's a huge sample size where we picked up some profit. But this year, it has done badly with a 3-13 record. Can you believe this? But to me, I have not lost confidence in this system. This is just a sample size of 16 games which is small compared to the previous 3 seasons. So I'm not going to shy away from the big upset number 1 system, even though it has not performed well this year. I feel like this is an outlier and it can bounce back in the second half of the season. Now the Marlins will start Sandy Alcantara, who seems to have recaptured his 2022 form. In his past 5 games, he holds a 3-1 record, along with a stellar 2.13 ERA. Now, I just mentioned that he won 3 games in his past 5 starts, and those 3 wins occurred against some pretty strong teams. He beat the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Rays. Well, you may argue that the Yankees are not that great, especially compared to the preseason expectations, but still he beat the Dodgers and the Rays as well. And the only loss by Alcantara recently was at the Texas Rangers, which was obviously a pretty tough game. We also have the revenge factor going our way. I like to bet solid pitchers who lost or did badly against a specific opponent earlier in the year. Now that makes them more motivated and they have a razor-sharp focus when they meet again. Now that's the case of Alcantara. On May 30, he played against the Padres and he allowed 4 runs in 6 1/3 innings. That's not necessarily a catastrophic outing, but this was a bad outing, especially from his high standards. All right, now the Padres were shut out for the 11th time yesterday. And just for fun, I looked at how they did in their previous 10 shutout games in the following match. So did they rebound nicely or not? And what I found is the Padres followed up with a 5-5 record. So that does not necessarily give us some strong indication as to what's going to happen today. I just thought I would share it since I looked it up. Now the Padres just cannot seem to be building some momentum. They have now slim playoff hopes after winning just 5 of their past 16 games. Seth Lugo will take the mound for San Diego. He has done a fine job this season. He's been quite unfortunate with little run support. In his past 13 starts, the Padres have presented a 3-10 record. But Lugo has not necessarily been bad. He has just not had some run support. So for all of those reasons, again, this is my second official pick. I'm taking the Miami Marlins as small underdogs in San Diego. I'm hoping Sandy Alcantara can toss another gem today. All right, so I just told you about the big upset number 1 system. And one more team qualifies under this system today. I'm not sure if any of you can guess which team it is, but the answer is the Washington Nationals. Yesterday, so like I said, the first criterion is the team must have pulled off a big upset the previous day, which means a money line above plus 150. Again, covers.com shows plus 150. If you look at more detailed information, let's look at Pinnacle. Their closing line was plus 158. Well, in the entire day, the line was above plus 150. So to me, that is considered as a big upset. Now, the second criterion that must be met is they must be playing the same team as yesterday. Well, they did play at the Yankees, and they're playing the Yankees again today. And finally, their money line today must be smaller than plus 125, and that is the case. Sorry, that's not so good. The last time I checked, the money line on Washington was plus 120. I have not checked in the past hour, so they fit all criteria for betting. Now, as I said, I don't bet all my system plays blindly. And after doing my analysis, I'm not convinced I should pull the trigger here. But I'll give you more betting information and you can make your own decision regarding this Washington versus New York matchup. Well, first of all, I was I knew that the Nationals have been doing better of late, but I was surprised to realize that they have won 7 of their past 9 series, which is quite awesome. Since the All-Star break, Washington holds a 22-14 record. Now, Mackenzie Gore will start for Washington, and he was spectacular in his last start against the Boston Red Sox. He allowed just 1 hit in 6 1/3 innings. Now, he had a finger issue that forced him to leave the game. Now, obviously, if he's starting today, that's a sign that he's fine, but that's still a bit of a concern to me. And over the whole season, he has a whip statistic, the walks plus hits per inning pitch, of 1.38, while the league average is 1.30. So his whip stat is a bit above, which means he's a bit of a below average pitcher. Now, and before this great game against Boston, in his previous 3 starts, he had allowed 11 runs in 16 innings, which corresponds to a 6.19 ERA. So again, that's a bit of a concern to me. Now, obviously, things are falling apart for the Bronx Bombers. Well, they don't look like the Bronx Bombers at all. They have scored 10 runs in their past 6 games, which means that their offense has generated an average of 1.7 runs per game lately. The last time, now they are undergoing a bad 9-game losing skid. And the last time they lost 10 games in a row was in 1913. Wow! That was like 110 years ago, which is incredible. Well, the Yankees are starting Luis Severino. He's been, I don't know how to call it, he's been abysmal. He's been awful this year. Since the beginning of July, he holds a 1-6 record along with an ERA which stands at 11.08. Now, he did show some signs of progress in his last outing by picking up 27 called or swinging strikes. And I have to admit that even though he's been awful, I'm still a bit worried that he could have a bounce-back game here. I mean, he cannot be bad forever, can he? So I'm going to leave it up to you to make your decision here. Personally, right now I'm staying on the sidelines. I'm not betting the Nationals, but if you really, really force me to bet, I believe there is more value on Washington than on New York, but I'm going to err on the side of caution and stay on the sidelines, or perhaps I will place a small bet. It might also depend on the line movement. If it goes up, I might start getting interested. Like if it goes to plus 130, maybe. We'll see how it goes. There's one more game that I wanted to discuss with you, and it concerns the Boston versus Houston game. All right, so Chris Sale will start for the Red Sox. Well, both starters today have been on the injury list for a long period of time. So for Boston, Chris Sale missed 2+ months due to shoulder inflammation. His return has not been very convincing. He has allowed 4 earned runs in 9 innings. It's not bad, it's not great either. But what worries me a little bit is his velocity was down, significantly down in his last start. He averaged 91.8 miles per hour, while in his previous game, he averaged 94.5. That's a big difference. So I don't know if he's in good form or not. Meanwhile, the Astros were upset after getting swept by the Mariners. They held a team meeting, and that seems to have wakened them up. Now they have won the first 2 games of the series against Boston, and they are looking for another victory, trying to catch up the Texas Rangers atop the American League West Division. So they will start Jose Urquidy, who made a 3-month stint on the injury list. Now, his first appearance back on the field was very bad against the Yankees, if I remember correctly. But his next 2 were reassuring. He allowed just 1 run in 7 innings. So I feel like he could have a good game today, especially in front of his home crowd. If you take a look at both teams' run differential, so I'm talking here about the runs scored minus the runs allowed, Houston is plus 89, while Boston is only plus 27. So to me, that I have a lean on the Astros in this game. That's my official betting recommendation. So I would tend to go with Houston. I'm not sure yet if I will pull the trigger or not. So I might place a smaller bet. But I feel like the last time I checked, the money line on Houston was minus 115. So to me, those are pretty reasonable odds when taking the home team. Also, the home team is a bit better than the road team, and the pitching matchup is fine. It's not like Boston had a much stronger pitcher. As I said earlier, I'm worried about Chris Sale's health right now, and I feel like Urquidy might do very well today. So to me, those are very reasonable odds, so I would be tempted to go with the Astros. All right, now should I go with my bonus gift? First of all, let me say hello to some of my viewers here. Well, first, so let me recap my official picks today. I have 2 official picks. The first one I told you about were the Milwaukee Brewers as small favorites at home against Minnesota. So that's pick number 1, Brewers against Minnesota. My second official pick is the Miami Marlins as slight underdogs in San Diego. And finally, I have 2 leans, which are on the Houston Astros and the Washington Nationals. Now stay tuned. I have a WNBA pick coming up, which has performed extremely well. So Steve Good says, I'm confused. Are we going with the Padres or the Marlins? So again, I'll say it again, the Marlins. The Marlins is the pick today. All right. Mike says 3-13, that's bad. Just forget it. Well, I guess we'll have to agree that we disagree here. Why focus on the past 16 bets when the previous like 80 or 90 bets generated some good profit? That's, and by the way, I don't want to bash this person at all. Okay, I just want to try to educate people about the danger of focusing way too much on recent outcomes, on a small sample size that is recent. I feel like, to me, this is clearly the number 1 mistake made by sports bettors, is they focus too much on recent outcomes. So this is a prime example. So we have a betting system that has produced a 3-13 record recently. Yeah, that's bad. But how about the previous 80 bets that generated big profit? So overall, if you look at the whole picture, this is a solid system to me. So we don't need to panic over some short-term results. That's just my personal opinion. I mean, you can disagree if you want, and that's perfectly fine. But as a statistician, I've been told so many times not to focus too much on small sample sizes. All right. So, hello to William. MJ, you are confusing us. Can you please at the end say the picks? Thank you for your hard work. Well, I guess that's already done. I've recapped the picks on a few occasions. I hope that you appreciated, my friend William. All right, Kenneth Wagster says, hello, professor. Hello, my friend. Okay, then you... When we starting this contest for football, says Drake Gonzalez. I'm not sure what we're talking about, the contest for football. But you went against the trend. You are defending. Again, not sure. All right, now, okay, let's move on with the WNBA pick. First of all, I want to share my screen to show you how great we have been doing. Let's look at WNBA, the recent WNBA picks. Hopefully you can see correctly. Let me zoom a little bit, maybe 130%. All right, that should be better. So our last pick, which was yesterday, August 22nd, was the Chicago Sky, laying 2.5 points against the Seattle Storm. They crushed them. This was an easy win. So it brought our season record to 29-15. And what's quite amazing is the first 20 picks were not so good. If you look at the top here, after 20 picks, we had a 9-11 record. So since then, we have been literally on fire. So this means that recently we have a 20-4 record, which is incredible stuff. Now today, there is only one game in the WNBA. And if you know me, I don't force bets at all. But there is one bet that I really like today. And let me share it with you. So the pick is... where is it? Well, the image is not so good. So for the first half, the spread is the Phoenix Mercury +5, the LA Sparks -5, and my pick goes to the LA Sparks -5 points for the first half of the game. Alternatively, if you prefer to bet on the full game, if I remember correctly, the best line available was with DraftKings and BetMGM, and the line for the full game was the Sparks -9.5 points at -105 odds. To me, this is also an acceptable bet. Now, my personal preference is to go with the first half here, so I'm taking the LA Sparks, laying 5 points for the first half against the Phoenix Mercury. Hopefully, that's going to be our 21st win out of the past 25 WNBA wagers. All right, so this is it for me today. Let me recap again the picks since some people are asking for it. Pick number 1, Milwaukee Brewers as small favorites at home against against Minnesota. Pick number 2, I'm taking the Miami Marlins to pull off a mild upset in San Diego. Then I had a small lean on a couple of teams, the Washington Nationals and the Houston Astros. And finally, in the WNBA, this is an official pick. We've been red hot in that league. I'm taking the LA Sparks -5 points against the Phoenix Mercury. All right, I hope I was clear this time. I'm sorry if I was not earlier in this live stream. I really want to thank you for showing up again, or if you're watching the replay, I want to thank you as well for watching my daily videos. So I'll be back tomorrow for more baseball picks. So until then, this is Professor MJ, the statistics professor from Quebec City in Canada, saying so long.